In Ecuador, the Legislative Administration Council of the nation and the National Assembly decided to start impeachment proceedings against the President Guillermo Lasso after the Constitutional Court approved the process. Haiti reports the grim milestone of 640 deaths from the cholera, as health authorities estimate over 38,000 people could have contracted the disease. And also, the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan reaffirmed the West will not succeed in its attempts to drag Türkiye into a conflict with Russia. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. In Ecuador, the Legislative Administration Council of the nation and the National Assembly decided on Friday to initiate impeachment proceedings against the President Guillermo Lasso after the Constitutional Court approved the process. With 6 votes in favor and 1 against, the Commission approved the motion and set up a commission of political control and oversight, analyze the request, and suspend other processes. This parliamentary board has a 30-day deadline to issue a report to recommend or not the impeachment of the president, but it will be up to the plenary of the National Assembly to decide on the removal of the chief executive. The head of the parliament, Virgilio Saquicela, stressed the legitimacy of the procedure and assured that occurs in the strict observance of the Constitution and the law. Lasso's early departure from power will have to be supported by 92 legislators out of a total of 137, and if carried out, Vice President Alfredo Borrero will take over for the remaining time of the current term in office. In an interview at TeleSUR show Enclave Mediática, the member of the Ecuadorian National Assembly, Viviana Veloz, highlighted that the President Guillermo Lasso does not recognize what the Constitution says.
The President of the Republic does not recognize what the Constitution says. He does not recognize the oversight power that we legislators have, and he wants us to oversee the Constitution, something that is totally wrong. The President is subject to political control, and the Assembly has been carried out an extensive audit of the different branches of the state, including the President of the Republic, for his incompetence and ineffectiveness.
The Ecuadorian lawmaker also said that the impeachment against President Guillermo Lasso is a symbol of millions of Ecuadorians and a triumph of the forgotten majorities.
That is why I can tell you that this impeachment is a symbol of millions of Ecuadorians. It is a triumph of the forgotten majorities, of the people who see with despair and disappointment that they do not find opportunities in this country and they have to leave the country, or those mothers who, when they go to the hospitals, do not find medicines.
Now we move on to other topics. On Thursday, Mexican authorities started a judicial process to determine the criminal responsibility of the alleged perpetrators of the events that resulted in a fire that caused the death of 39 asylum seekers and injuries to 28 more foreigners. This was announced by the Mexican government through a press conference given by the head of the Secretariat of Security and Citizen Protection, Rosa Isela Rodriguez, and the Specialized Prosecutor for Human Rights of the Attorney General's Office, Sara Irene Herrera. The authorities announced that of the 28 injured, 1 migrant was discharged from medical care. According to the report, the federal government detected irregularities on the part of the private security company CAMSA, in charge of guarding the migrant center, for which the administrative process was initiated to take the corresponding actions.
Just from reviewing the file, one irregularity stands up. The company only had registered in its ledger 4 guards with 10 uniforms, and the contract with the National Migration Institute was for 503 guards in 23 states of the Republic.
And the Specialized Human Rights Prosecutor, Sara Irene Herrera, said that on Thursday the initial hearing and indictment against 5 of the first 6 suspects was held, after which 6 arrest warrants were released.
6 arrest warrants were granted against 3 officials of INAMI, 2 private security policemen, and the person who started the fire. Warrants were requested for the crime of intentional homicide, with malice aforethought, for the crime of injuries against the 67 foreigners.
In Haiti, the Ministry of Health reported on Friday that the number of deaths from cholera has risen to 640 and warned about the high number of suspected cases among the population under 4 years of age. According to the balance offered by the Ministry of Health, a total of 38,262 people could have contracted the disease, of whom almost 9,000 are under 5 years of age and over 2,500 have been confirmed to be infected. In this regard, the health authorities announced the mobilization of rapid intervention teams to halt the spread of cholera. The national government organized accelerated training sessions for personnel and updated teams to improve community management and promote response and prevention activities in the departments of Artibonite and the north of the country. And TeleSUR correspondent Daisy Toussaint brings us more information on this situation in Haiti.
Hello, it's a pleasure to greet you. That's right, deaths from cholera continue to increase in Haiti. The most recent report records 640 deaths from the disease, according to the Ministry of Public Health and Population of that country, which also warns about the high number of suspected cases among children under 4 years of age. The report shows that more than 38,000 people might have contracted the disease. Of these, almost 900 are under 5 years of age. Since the beginning of October last year, more than 32,000 people have required medical assistance. 428 died in hospitals, while 212 died in communities. Cholera is an acute diarrheal infection caused by ingestion of contaminated food or water. It has a short incubation period that fluctuates between 2 hours and 5 days. Let's recall that in 2010, after the devastating earthquake that claimed the life of more than 250,000 people in Haiti, the epidemic spread through the country and caused the death of about 10,000 people, and by March 2011, 3 deaths and about 400 cases of cholera have been detected in the Dominican Republic, a country that shares the same island with Haiti. Of that outbreak, the last case was recorded in 2019 to reappear 3 years later, finding Haiti in the midst of a serious social, political, economic, and health crisis, in addition to insecurity that limits the mobility of the Haitian population. So far, all the information. Back to you.
Let's take a short break. But first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan reaffirmed the West will not succeed in its attempts to drag Türkiye into a conflict with Russia. In an interview with a Haber TV channel, the Turkish leader said, we live in a world marked by crisis and wars. We were able to build a strong and independent Türkiye in this environment, and we must maintain it. In this sense, the Turkish head of state reiterated Ankara's readiness to help settle the conflict between Russia and Ukraine at the negotiations table, adding that the peace can be obtained by a serious and determined mediation. Likewise, President Erdogan suggested the sides could meet again in Istanbul, where talks took place shortly after the conflict broke out more than a year ago. Turkey's parliament approved on Friday a bill to allow Finland to join the North Atlantic Trade Organization. All 276 legislators present voted in favor of Finland's bid, days after Hungary's parliament also endorsed Helsinki's accession. The Turkish parliament was the last among the 30 members of the alliance to ratify Finland's membership, since full unanimity is required to admit new members into the military grouping. After the vote, Finnish President Sauli Niinisto thanked NATO's member states for supporting his country's bid to join the alliance. Finland and Sweden asked to join the Transatlantic Military Alliance last year, ending decades of military non-alliance by the two countries.
The result of the open voting on the bill on the ratification of the Protocol of the Accession of the Republic of Finland to the North Atlantic Treaty. Number of votes are 276, number of votes in favor 276 as the Grand National Assembly of Türkiye at the Council. We wish all the best to the state and people of Finland.
And the Belarusian president, Alexander Lukashenko, said his country is seeking the deployment of nuclear weapons on its territory to prepare for an invasion from Western countries. During his address to the nation and parliament on Friday, the Belarusian head of state said Moscow's plans to station nuclear arms in Belarus will help safeguard the country, which he stressed was under threat from the West and especially from neighboring Poland. In his speech, President Lukashenko also called for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire in the conflict in Ukraine, emphasizing the only way to end it is to come to the negotiations table without prior conditions. The International Court of Justice, based in The Hague, the Netherlands, ruled on Thursday that the United States illegally froze some Iranian assets that do not belong to the Central Bank of the Islamic Republic. The court ordered the U.S. to pay a compensation, the amount of which will be determined within 24 hours. If not, the court will initiate a new procedure to determine the amount to be paid. However, the court declared that it does not have jurisdiction over $1.75 billion in frozen assets of the Iranian Central Bank. The case was initially filed by Iran against the United States in 2016 for allegedly breaching their 1955 Friendship Treaty by allowing U.S. courts to freeze assets of Iranian companies and citizens.
With 14 votes to 1, it is decided that in the absence of agreement between the parties on this issue of adequate compensation to the Islamic Republic of Iran, within 24 months from the date of this sentencing, this matter shall, at the request of either party, be decided by the court.
In France, protests were organized on Friday in different parts of the country to condemn state repression against demonstrators seeking to prevent the construction of a mega basin in Saint-Ouen. Several hundred people gathered to denounce police violence following last weekend's demonstration, which left nearly 200 people injured, 2 of whom are currently in a coma. On that occasion, security forces deployed helicopters, armored vehicles, and water cannons, firing thousands of tear gas grenades and dozens of other projectiles. The demonstrators seek to prevent the construction of a new water reservoir intended to collect water for irrigation in the western region of TeleSUR, arguing it is outsized and favors agribusiness. France's worst drought on record last summer sharpened the debate over water resources in the European Union's biggest agricultural sector. In Damascus, Syria, loud explosions were heard again on Friday following an Israeli missile attack, the second in less than 24 hours. The loud sound of the explosions and the fire of the defense batteries were heard for 20 minutes in the city of Damascus and its surroundings. The Ministry of Defense has so far made no statement on this hostile action, nor has it let it be known whether it left human and material losses. The day before, 2 soldiers were injured and material damage was caused by a similar attack with a barrage of missiles fired from the direction of the occupied Syrian Golan against some points in the vicinity of Damascus. The most recent attacks were preceded by Israeli rocket launches on March 12th and 22nd against several positions in the province of Hama and the international airport of Aleppo, respectively. Taiwan's former president Ma Ying-jeou continues his 12-day tour through mainland China. On Thursday, the Taiwanese leader expressed the need to increase exchanges between students from universities on both sides of the Taiwan Strait. During a visit to Wuhan University in the central Chinese province of Hubei, Ma said that it is important for younger generations on both sides to interact more and to understand each other. In this way, he advocated resuming and expanding cross-strait student exchanges. Former President Ma is the main opposition candidate for the January 2024 general elections in Taiwan. TeleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. Dial 461 and enjoy our Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Friday in India, the death toll in the collapse of a Hindu temple during a festival in the Madhya Pradesh region in the center of the country has risen to 35. Rescue services continue to work in the area after the accident that took place on Thursday. According to authorities in the town of Indore, there is at least one person missing. The incident took place after the floor of the Belshawar Madhvayev temple collapsed and dozens of people fell into a well in the midst of the celebrations of the festival known as Ram Navami, which marks the birth of the Hindu god Ram. The government of the region attributed the accident to overweight, overcrowding, and heavy footsteps of people passing by. On Thursday, a Senegalese court gave opposition politician Ousmane Sonko a 2-month suspended prison sentence for defaming a minister. Ousmane Sonko, 48, had to answer for defamation, insults, and forgery against the Minister of Tourism, Mame Baye Niang. In addition to the 2-month suspended prison sentence, the court fined Mr. Sonko, who was absent from the hearing, 300,000 euros to be paid to the minister. It released him from the offenses of insult and forgery. According to Sonko's legal team, the opposition politician is still eligible to run in the presidential elections in 2024.
Les textes en vigueur prévoient une radiation des listes électorales dans certains cas de condamnation.
And the World Health Organization reported on Friday that Mozambique suffered its worst cholera outbreak in the last decade due to flooding caused by Cyclone Freddy. According to the organization's representative in Maputo, Severin von Seilander, the disease is already spread over 8 of the 11 Mozambican provinces. The town most affected by the disease is Quelimane in the central province of Zambezia, where over 100 people have been admitted in the last 24 hours, while more than 350 received treatment at home. Since Freddy's second impact in this coastal city, the number of daily cholera cases has multiplied by 10 compared to less than 20 that were registered each day in Quelimane. And protesters marched on Friday in support of LGBTQI+ communities in Uganda who are hurting from an anti-gay law put in place last week. The proposed law, known as the Anti-Homosexuality Bill 2023, is ready to be sent to the President Yoweri Museveni, who is facing call from the United Nations and the United States to reject it. If Museveni gives his assent, anyone who engages in same-sex activity could face life imprisonment, while repeat offenders could be sentenced to death, according to activists. Campaigners note Uganda has effectively ended the use of capital punishment, with death sentences automatically commuted to prison terms. Support messages for Ugandans pour in from neighboring Kenya to distant South Africa and stretch into Europe and North America.
What is happening right now in Uganda, whereby we have our people imprisoned in their own houses because of their sexuality. It angers me. It gets me so angry. It gets me so frustrated to see that the government, instead of concentrating on something that is happening like corruption, like
colonization was enough. Apartheid was enough. We can't deal with this. Human beings need to be free from brainwashing strategies. They need to be free from unjust laws. So we are saying, as South Africans, stop the anti-homosexual bill.
Like, what is
Now we address other topics. At least 121 wildfires were reported on Friday in the northern Spain. According to a report by the Emergency Service of the Principality of Asturias, residents in many towns have been evacuated and transferred to the shelter of the Municipal Sports Center in Valdés. The authorities reported that 56 people are currently in the shelter, including 5 minors and 16 people over the age of 65. Firefighters and military personnel have been deployed to the area, which has been closed to regular traffic. On Thursday night, the Colombian Geological Service announced that the Nevado del Ruiz volcano could erupt in the next few days or weeks. Consequently, it changed the alert level from yellow to orange. The Colombian Geological Service mentioned that the new alert level is due to the increase in the seismic activity that the volcano has presented since March 24th. Colombian scientists have detected seismic activity associated to the fracturing of rocks inside the volcanic edifice. This occurs in the southwestern flank of the volcano at a distance of 2 to 5 kilometers from the Arenas crater and at a depth between 2 and 4 kilometers from the top of the volcano. The daily rate of the occurrence of these events also increased from 6,500 tremors on March 28th to 11,000 shakes on March 29th. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.